welcome to the RTO Show podcast. I'm your host, Pete Chow, and today we got a killer one. I have a great guest here that's going to kind of shed a little bit of a different light on this, something that I know that we need in the RTO business, and I know you need it too. So before we get into all this, make sure, guys, you subscribe to the newsletter. It is new and it is hot. It's actually really been good. A lot of information going out on there, stuff that we don't discuss on the podcast because we want to have some different source material for you. Remember to go to the website, rtoshowpodcast.com. And now let's get to it. Mr. Vance Morris, almost to say the man, the Vance Morris, who's got so much going on right now. Guys, I got to tell you. So as I'm going through this, I've got pages of notes because this guy's got a resume that is unbelievable, from working some really big names in the business, including one of our Shark Tank dudes, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later, to authors, to kind of paving your own way and making it happen in the business, and kind of that's what we are doing today to kind of help us out and figure out what we're doing in the RTO world as far as customer service and just making those memorable moments. Vance, how you doing this morning?
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show, Pete.
Absolutely. So I wanted to get into a little bit of you so that our listeners, our viewers, they know exactly where you're coming from. So you started out in the Disney business and you kind of really made it a big part of it your own, and then took that out and kind of spread your wings and even got better. How did that happen? Where did you get started from?
Yeah, well, I had probably one of the easiest interviews at the Disney company known on this planet. Buddy of mine that I went to college with was a recruiter at Disney. I was sick and tired of living in Western Massachusetts, so I called him up and said, "Hey, you got anything for me?" He goes, "Yeah, come on down." And I kid you not, that was the extent of the interview. Probably not happening today, but it was just amazing way to really start. Again, I was working in restaurants for a while, but I was, like I said, a little tired of it. So I came and worked for the Disney company for a little over a decade. I was on the opening team of the Yacht and Beach Club Resort back in like 1990-ish. And just kind of progressed through everything from there.
And so you helped design and open Chef Mickey's. Is that right? Now, for those of you who don't know about Chef Mickey's, this is like a premier thing that Disney does. Can you explain a little bit about that for me? I mean, you made that your own, a really big deal now that has kind of transcended from when you started it to where it is now.
Yeah, it certainly was. So we were looking at the concept. Chef Mickey's was actually an old restaurant in what they called the Village Marketplace, I think, like in the 70s. And it had shut down, and we were renovating one of the restaurants at the Contemporary Resort, and we were lucky enough to get the title of Chef Mickey's for the new restaurant. And it is, and still is, the premier character dining destination on the property. And one of the things we looked at, and that was our driving force behind this thing, was how do we get Mickey Mouse through 400 seats in 43 minutes and have it feel like it was a great experience? And so those were our marching orders. We really had to take that and frame everything we did around that. To give you an idea of the volume that restaurant does. When I was there, we were probably about a $35 million a year restaurant. With price increases and things like that, they are closer to 70 million right now. One restaurant. Yeah, it's mind blowing. I mean, if you think about it, your average McDonald's is doing 4.5 million, and Chick-fil-A is right around 9 million, give or take a few pennies. So there was a lot going on. And so to be on the design team of it, where, we worked with the entertainment division, we worked with, obviously with food and beverage because this was a restaurant, and everything was designed around how do we get the mouse through 400 seats in 43 minutes and make it feel like it was a great time. Character dining, if you think about, if you went to the Magic Kingdom and you had your little daughter with you, and you wanted to get an autograph from, say, Cinderella, you had to stand in the hot sun for like a half hour. And so by the time you get up to Cinderella, you're malnourished, you're dehydrated, you're sweating, your little cherub is probably kind of getting cranky, you're getting cranky, and you get up to Cinderella and it's time for Cinderella to go on break. Well, that's not a great experience. And two, you're miserable. So we flipped the tables on that. And so with character dining, you're in an air conditioned area, you're sitting down at a nice table, enjoying a great meal, and the characters come to you instead of you standing around waiting for the characters. So completely flip the script on how guests interacted with the characters.
So it makes part of the dining experience like an experience altogether, not just food, but an experience altogether. And that's what helps change a $35 million a year situation to a $70 million. Guys, and the rent to own business, that's one of the biggest things that I say is what's the difference between us and the next one, right? If everything is almost the same, and I'm not going to say everything is exactly the same, but no credit needed, free delivery and all that stuff. What makes us different than the next guy? And that's why Vance is here today, because those are super important things to like, what can I do to make this customer experience absolutely better? Now, after your dining experience, after you did all that, you went to work with names such as NASA. Like you worked with NASA, you worked with Legal Foods, and eventually a little bit in the White House, right? Is that so you're taking this playbook now in everything that I've read and some of the things that you've said, you took this Disney playbook and you took it with you. And not only did you prove from a large scale to a small scale, because you ended up leaving, doing your own thing, your own business, and then showed and proved that the Disney playbook actually works. And now you are mentoring, teaching, and letting other people know this is how you make it happen. Can you describe to me a little bit about the Disney playbook and how that affects the day-to-day business?
Yeah. So one of the big things that I learned at Disney was that it runs on systems and processes. Okay. They have a system for everything. You want to change a bus tire, they got a system for it. Carry a tray in a restaurant, they got a system for it. And all of the systems are simple. Because if they were complex, the whole darn thing would fall apart. You got to think about who's working there, right? It's a bunch of late teens, early 20s people. The last thing they're thinking about is, safety and rides and working. They're thinking about, tonight's keg party or complaining about the boss or whatever. So they've got to be simple systems. And if you think about it, systems are there to deliver a consistent result. It's not there to stifle you, but it's there to deliver a consistent result. So if your systems are on a higher plane, as far as guest experience is concerned, now you can pretty much ensure that your employees are going to deliver the experiences that you're looking for. Without systems and processes, the whole darn thing falls apart. I get a quick example, and it just happened this weekend. So on Friday, I had a bunch of kids in the house, and I was going to order pizza for the family. I certainly wasn't cooking. So I went online. I live in a small town. We have 3 pizza places. One's good, one's okay, and one I would never order from. So I go to the good one. I hit the online order button. It's broken. Doesn't do it. Doesn't work. Doesn't do anything. Now, I should have known this because 2 months ago when I tried to order from them, the button didn't work then either. So this should tell everybody something. And if you have a website, make sure your buttons work. Go through it as a customer and make sure all the links are there. I mean, gremlins get in there, links break. I get it. But just make sure the stuff works. So I call them up, which is the next best thing. And they answer the phone, please hold, and put me on hold. I'm like, did I even get the right place? I have no idea. So I'm on hold. I'm looking at my phone, and it hits 4 minutes. And so I hang up and I call back. Same thing. Please hold. I'm like, so this company, this pizza place, had no systems in place. One, to answer the phone. 2, what do they do when they're busy? Because obviously, it's Friday night. I get it. They're busy. But that's not an excuse not to deliver the experience. Disney's busy. Geez, they got 70 million people coming through there every year. We should be able to handle a couple of hundred on a Friday night. And so they had no backups. This probably, and I'm not faulting the employee, I'm faulting the employer. The employee was probably, in the weeds, just taking orders, didn't know what else to do, had no backup plan. The restaurant didn't offer a backup plan. And so I said, you know what? I'm taking my money and I'm going somewhere else. You got to remember, money goes where money is wanted. If your company doesn't want money or has a bad relationship with money, money is not coming to you. It's going somewhere else. And so I called the second best pizza place. Their online button worked. So I ordered my pizza, walked over to the pizza place, got my pizza, came home. That's the example of systems and processes that, if they're broken, are going to get in the way of you creating experiences and you making money. That's the whole thing. I mean, Disney is a master at extracting money from your wallet and leaving you feel happy about it and wanting to do it again and again and again. And so
I got a question,
yeah,
because
man.
when you're saying SOPs, right, the standard operating procedures, that's really important, and I agree with you 100%. Because we'll get into the good show and a bad show in a minute, I love that example. But when you're opening your business, is that when you create the SOPs or the standing operating procedures, or as you go along, you're going to see things, find things, learn things that you didn't know before? Or is it like you start it and then you always add to it? When do you really get down to the SOPs so that you have a lot covered?
It never stops. It just never stops. So if you have the luxury of you're opening your business in a couple of weeks and you can start building these things, fantastic. That's probably best case scenario. But probably most of us on here are operators. We're in the business, we're in the weeds, and we're doing our business every day. So what we have to do is we have to look at, where are we going to start? And so let's just take answering the telephone. And so you would write that. Well, first thing you got to do is map out your customer journey. It's not sexy, but it is vital. Okay. Where does your company touch the guest or the customer at each point? So, okay, do they make a phone call? Do they do the website? Do they come into the store, etc.? So you map out all of the points, and then you identify, okay, what's the most important point? What's going to get me the most bang for my buck? And this is where you start your standards. So you just take exactly what you're doing now and you write that down. So now you have an SOP. It may not be great, but you got one. And this is how we answer the phone. Then what you want to do is you work in iterations, okay? Walt Disney called it plussing. It's constant process improvement, okay? Constantly getting better. So you want to plus how you answer the phone. So I worked with a group of insurance companies, and there was this Allstate agent in this fairly decent sized city. There are probably like 7 or 8 other Allstate agents in the city, plus all of the other guys. It's probably 50, 60 insurance agents. And when you called them up, they answered the phone, thank you for calling Dave's Insurance. How can I help you? So, I mean, every company in the world sort of answers the phone that way. So we had to lean into his personality. We had to figure out a way, okay, how do we answer the phone so that it is an experience? So I'm sitting in his office with his team, and I'm looking around, and he's got gold records on the wall, autographed guitars, posters of The Who, and all this stuff. I mean, he's a rock and roll fanatic. And so I'm like, okay, well, answering the phone is your number one thing. What are some ideas? And his receptionist was the one that came up with how to answer the phone. And she really leaned into his personality. So like I said, normally you get, thanks for calling Dave's Insurance. How can I help you? Well, they jazzed it up, and they got their like best Wolfman Jack imitation going. And they say, thank you for calling Dave's Allstate, the agency that rocks. Now, answering the phone that way, yes, it sounds a little corny the first 19 times you say it, but answering the phone that way does a couple of things. One, it separates you from everybody else out there. So you become the only rock and roll insurance agent out there. And two, remember what your marketing is designed to do. It's designed to either attract the people you want to do business with or repel the people you don't want. And so just by answering the phone that way, you sift, sort, and screen out anybody who'd be a bad customer. And so you take everything you do and you look at it. Okay, here's what we're doing right now. That's our current standard. Whether you think you have one or you don't, that's the current. And then you look at it and you brainstorm. How do we make this better?
Let me ask you something. Are you getting everything out of your rent-to-own business? If you're not an APRO member, then the answer is probably no. Look, advocacy is APRO's bread and butter. This is why they were created and what they do best. But here's the thing. APRO membership is about way more than advocacy. APRO connects you to the movers and the shakers of the industry. People who've been there, done that, and they can help you do it even better. APRO's monthly webinars give you expert insights and actionable takeaways. It's like having a masterclass for your business every single month. Got questions about complex regulations or sticky situations? No problem. APRO's legal hotline gives you direct access to experts who have got the answers. That's a peace of mind that you can't put a price on. And let's not forget the resources, news, updates, and tools that keep you ahead of the curve. Scholarships for your team? Check. Disaster relief when you need it most? Double check. APRO is your ultimate support system in the rent-to-own world. So stop settling for less. With APRO, members get more. More support, more connections, more success. Head over to rtohq.org and join the APRO family today. Because in this business, more isn't just better. It's essential. See you at the top with APRO. When you're doing that, and I know, see, here's the thing, and I'm glad that we're talking about this because I know a lot of people, I'm sure you know a lot of people, right? And they bring together different ideas, different thoughts, different ways to do things. And I know guys that are great at doing tasks, right? That's what they do. You set in front of a task and then boom, they will knock them out. But the guy who creates the tasks is different from the person doing the task, right? The guy who creates a task is more like, I see a need, I need to do it, I'm going to delegate it, I'm going to put you off. Okay, as you're creating this persona for your business to be different, you have a couple of same businesses, and whether it's RTO, that's the same RTO, and you're trying to be different, or a restaurant that's trying to be different. How do you get somebody who is very logical, right, in their way of thinking, and like, I'm going to open a business, I want my guys to answer the phone, I want them to be nice to the customers, and I want to take care of them. That's great. Now, mind you, I agree with that 100%. But like you said, if you're not going to put a twist on it, you're going to fall in the weeds of everybody else. So, but they're more of, I know how to run the business. I don't know how to create this idea, this persona, this thing that's going to put me separate in as far as a personality. How do you get that person to sit back and go, how do you create a personality for your business through your SOPs?
Yeah, well, so certainly if you don't have SOPs, your employees are going to do whatever the heck it is they want to do, right? So if you don't tell them what to do and give them the script, they're just going to figure it out themselves, and it's probably not going to be something you like, please hold. That's not the way to answer the phone. And so,
right.
Well, I mean, it's what happened, right? I mean, this guy had no script. He had no SOP on how to answer the phone when it's busy. None. And so you mapping out your customer journey, you don't have to have rock and roll in your background for the personality. Your personality can be the level of service you provide, the level of what's the word I'm looking for? Knowledge that you have. Do you become that guy that just knows things and people? So do you become a resource for your community? Because I'm guessing probably RTOs, they work within a community or a town. I mean, they're not delivering 300 miles away.
Correct. Yeah,
So
we're 5 to 10.
What's that?
We're 5 to 10 miles out. That's our bread and butter.
Exactly.
I mean, we might every once in a while go a little bit further out, but our majority is 5 to 10 miles.
Yeah. So how do you become known for that guy? So you want to be able to become, one of the businesses I own is a carpet cleaning business. Not very sexy, but people call us up and ask, hey Vance, do you know a good plumber? Hey Vance, do you know a good handyman? Because they trust us, because we've done a great job, and we probably hang out with people that have the same level, the same standards that we do. And I know this is a little bit off kilter from the personality question, but we became known as that guy. We just know people. So how do you become the center of influence in your community? You can certainly do this with your rental centers. It's not impossible. And I think that everybody has something that they're known for. All right. Maybe it's knitting. Maybe it's fly fishing. Maybe it's, just being a cheerful, bubbly person. And so that becomes the personality of your store, regardless of whether you're in a franchise or you're independent. And so do you become known in your town for over the top, incredible customer service? You just become known for that, and then you get compared to everybody else gets compared to you. People go to the movie theater, they go to the grocery store, and they're like, those dudes over at, Bob's rental center, they got it down. They greeted me at the front door. They said hello. They knew my name. They did this and that and the other thing. And I went to the grocery store and the lady grunted at me. A lot of cashiers don't know how to talk. And if they do, they just use single syllables and it's, "Ugh," fine.
That's how Anthony and I communicate.
What's that?
That's how Anthony and I look at it. That's what we do it. No, I agree. 100%. 100%.
Sadly, that's what happens, So how do you've got to become known for giving a top-notch experience.
So taking that, and I love that idea. We become a top-notch experience. We have to kind of dissect it, starting with the SOPs and making sure that we have actually a lot of problems set so that we know how to take care of them. Now, what's the good show, bad show? Because here's the thing. After we explain a little bit, my issue is that some of our owners are 1 to 2, maybe 3 store owners. Now, there are some that have 20, 40, and then you have the big ones that have 200 plus. But when you're running a 1 to 3, right, 1 to 3 store operation, it's hard to walk in the door and not have people change the way they are, right? So boss man comes to the door, whether it's 1 store or 3 stores, and all of a sudden we're somebody who we haven't been, right? Oh, hey, how you doing? And what's going on? And I want to make sure everything's right. And then they leave, and all of a sudden the experience is back to normal. So when you're doing good show, bad show, how do you stop that from happening? So I want to just get into that question as you describe what good show, bad show is, because I'm very curious on how to make that change so that we get it right.
Certainly. So good show, bad show is actually looking at your stage. So Disney uses theatrical and film anecdotes and things to describe. So when you're working at Disney, you are on stage and you're a cast member performing a role on stage. And so one of the things that's done at the beginning of every day is a good show, bad show walkthrough. We're looking at, are the windows clean? Does something need to be painted? Is a light bulb out, etc. I do this in my home service businesses. Every employee has to do a good show, bad show walkthrough of their vehicle and then submit that. These days, it's great because we can take pictures and everything's online and, you can do a little video of your walkthrough, whatever. Anything that is considered bad show then needs to be reported so that something can be done and it can be repaired. So at Disney, we do the show in the morning and we call all the departments to fix our stuff. And then in the afternoon shift leader or manager will do another good show, bad show walkthrough. One, they check to make sure everything that was on bad show in the morning has been fixed. And then they do their own walkthrough. So it's constantly keeping your stage in tip-top shape and looking good. As far as the employees are concerned, I used to tour Michael Eisner around. He's the former CEO of Disney. And when he would come on property, especially at Pleasure Island, I was the guy that had to walk him around. And he says to me, Vance, I am really tired of the smell of fresh paint. Because people knew Eisner was coming, so they freaking painted everything to make sure it looked great for when Michael Eisner walked through. So he tried to come unannounced, but that never worked. So you have to rely on either customer feedback, which I strongly recommend everybody has some kind of customer feedback system. Whether that's comment cards, whether that's something digital, whether it's an email, online, or something, you have that. And then 2, secret shoppers. And they don't even have to be expensive ones. It's just, you call up your buddy 3 doors down and say, hey, can you, I'll buy you lunch. Would you mind just coming in and just telling me what you experienced? So it's as easy as that. I come in unannounced in all of my businesses, and my guys know it. So, and we serve we don't even have a showroom. I mean, we go to somebody's house and we got to do our thing. And so I'll spot check every once in a while. I'll drive out to where we're working and I'll make sure everything that I said was going to be a standard is actually happening in place. So it's more inspection, it's more having systems in place that are going to get you that information, but having some kind of review system, having some kind of secret shopper service, really kind of indispensable in a business that has a store or a showroom.
So what I wanted to do is kind of understand when you do a good show, bad show, right? Um, and you see these things, and how important is it when you come in and then having a fresh mind come in? How important is it for this to happen on a regular basis? Now, I know that I would love to say we do it every morning. Guys, we're not doing it every morning. But let's say that we have this. How often does that fresh perspective? Because we're going to come in and we're going to have our own ideas about it. And unfortunately, sometimes we have blinders on. We're like, hey, I know that light's not fixed, but I ordered the light. I know that this spot is not fixed, but I ordered that. How often do you have a fresh mind come in versus I'm going to come in and do my own walkthrough? I'm going to notate my stuff. Is it quarterly? Is it weekly? I mean, how has the biggest bang?
Yeah, I think at worst case is quarterly. Best case is probably every other week. Because if you don't stay on top of it, that's when things slip. And so you want to notice, okay, do you have dusty house plants? Do you have something that's detracting from the show? And let me just say a quick word about details. Okay, so we're all in detail-oriented businesses. And every detail in your business is either enhancing or detracting from your show. So there is no middle ground, right? So if you got a dusty house plant, it's detracting from the show. If your paperwork is messy or your employee is wrinkled, those are all detractions. Now, one of those is not going to be a deal killer. But if you put 2 or 3 or 4 in a row, now the customer's like, what the hell kind of place did I just walk into? So I would be looking, fresh set of eyes. If you could get, a buddy, a secret shopper, definitely customer feedback can be daily. And do you have somebody who, whether they rented something or not, do you have somebody at the end of the day that calls them up and says, hey, we know you were in the store today. Do you have a minute to tell me about how things went? And then you ask 2 or 3 questions, definitely not long, the questions that are important to you, and see how the customer responds. That kind of information is invaluable because it's instant. I mean, you don't want to wait a whole quarter to realize you've been doing something wrong for 90 days. You want to nip that sucker in the bud.
So when you have all these customer experiences come in, right? You're trying to you got your SOPs, right? Because you got to put that down. That is the basic foundation. Now you're building your experience off of that. What I wanted to know is because sometimes what we do, if we are, again, we're going to go back to that logical thinking versus that eccentric kind of person who can say, hey, this would be great, or that would be great, or I can paint, something that doesn't look like, stick figures, right? They have the mindset for that. What they'll do is what some businesses do have a tendency, they'll go shop around, right? They'll go and say, okay, who does this? Who does that? But what we don't want to do is create an amalgamation of everything that's already out there, because then that, again, we are just going to look a better version of the same, right? It's going to be, we're just going to be a different color packaging on a whole bunch of presents that look exactly the same. So as you're doing that and you go out and you see something that you like, okay, they're doing this right. Or I go over here and they're doing that right. How do you tweak those things to get to be a little bit different in the sense that I'm not like everybody else, but they have some great ideas?
Yep. Well, I think first and foremost is don't go looking what other rental centers are doing. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Okay.
Go to Chick-fil-A and notice how Chick-fil-A, They have people that say, good morning, thank you, my pleasure, and have genuine customer experience. I went yesterday. I don't know if you guys have them near you. I went to a Raising Cane's. Okay, it's fresh hot chicken, and that's how they announce your order is ready. I got fresh hot chicken for Vance, and oh, great. Do you go? I mean, there's 26,000 chicken places, right?
Right.
Raising Cane's has their thing. It's fresh hot chicken for Vance, and it's ready to go. So look outside of your industry for some of the best ideas. I mean, if you look at like drive-throughs for like McDonald's or the fast food places, I bet you there was like a McDonald's executive at the bank ready to make his deposit. And those tubes that whoosh the money up over top.
Oh
And
yeah,
he's probably
the vacuum
looking
tubes.
at that
Yeah,
tube and he's like, how the hell do I get a milkshake into that thing? Right. So it's about adapting what other businesses are doing, not copying what they're doing. So look outside of your industry for the best ideas. If you want if you want to work on your in-store greeting, great. Don't go to other rental centers. Go to a restaurant. Go to a Ritz-Carlton. Go to a Nordstrom's and see how those things are happening. Play it in the back of your mind. When you're just traveling around with your family and you notice, man, that was pretty cool. How can I do that in my business? And then you just got to brainstorm. You don't have to do the huge bells and whistles. And it's all iterations. So if you're answering the phone, okay, maybe you don't have the whole rock and roll thing. Great. But right now, let's say your standard is to answer the phone in 4 rings. All right. Well, next month, we're going to answer it in 3 rings. And then the next month after that, we're going to answer it in 2 rings. And then one of your standards could be, we're never going to have a machine answer the phone. It's always going to be a human. So there's nothing sexy about any of that, but it is a standard, and it is a constant plussing of your standard because it's getting better and better over time.
I like that. So what we do in life, right? A lot of people associate price in the shopping experience first and foremost, right? So if you're going somewhere and you see the dollar store, you're in your mind, you're thinking cheaper cost merchandise. You're not really expecting the kind of customer service that you would, like you said, like a Nordstrom or something like that. You're thinking, well, this is going to be bottom dollar. This is $1.99 here versus $5.99 over there. I'm just going to walk in, expect bad shelves and whatever the case is. How do you get in today's economy, especially when everybody's worried about the price of gas and whatever's going on in the world? How do you get them? Because you've mentioned this, and a lot of what you do is to try to disassociate the cost with the shopping experience. How do you decouple those? And what is it, what does the groundwork of that look like?
Right. So, I mean, first and foremost, you have to be able to talk about and deliver value. Okay. So once you have a value proposition, it separates you from pricing because you can pretty much get price elasticity with the addition of value items. So again, I'll mention, so one of my businesses, I said, is a carpet cleaning business. And you can drive around your town, look on a telephone pole and see some guy advertising, I'll clean your whole house for $49. That's what I'm competing against, right? But we don't compete on price. You go to my website, there is not a price on there because we work based on value. So what are the things that you can add and do that are going to increase your value aside from, the $100 a week sofa or whatever it is? So, do you have guarantees and warranties are brilliant for this. So do you have a on-time guarantee? Do you have a warranty? So like in my business, we have a 5-day and a 10-day whoopsie warranty. So if we clean your carpet today, in 5 days, if you knock over a glass of chocolate milk, give us a call. We'll come back out. We'll clean that spot, no charge. And then we've got a 10-day version of that. Maybe one person a year will take us up on that warranty. It costs us absolutely nothing to issue it. It only costs us pennies when we actually have to go out and fix something. But it sets people's minds at ease. It is a value add. How we take care of the home. So, I mean, you guys have, delivery. Okay, well, what is your get in the door and delivery experience? Okay, is it just a couple of guys that smell like the Marlboro Man who just took a shower in Axe because well, I mean, that guy has come into my house. It's disgusting. So, I mean, like for me, we forbid smoking and I forbid cologne. There's nothing worse than the Marlboro Man who smells like Axe, coming in. So that is part of your process. Those are part of your standards. Do you lay down a logoed mat by the front door and wipe your feet before you come in? Do you put little booties on? Do you put corner protectors and edge protectors so when you're bringing in a entertainment center, you're not scratching or doing anything? So you become known for that. And there is a value to that entry into the home, that whole process, that you can put any price you want onto it because other people are not doing it. I mean, my competitors know what I do. They don't copy it. I don't know. They're too dumb, too lazy, too poor, whatever it is. So you become known for how you deliver. So I think that's really one of the ways is you just look at how are we delivering what we're doing and how can we do it just a little bit better every week or every month and do it a little differently than everybody else is.
So you talk about delivery experience building loyalty. Talk to me a little bit about the loyalty that you're talking about, because we always want loyalty. And when we talk about bottom dollar, people are going to say, I'm loyal to the price, right? Whatever, if this price is $2.50, I'm going somewhere where it's $2.25. Oh, wait, that guy's $1.99. I have no loyalty to whoever. I am loyal to the price of the product. And what we're trying to do is not only decouple them from a price tag and say, hey, this is the value of it. But you're also trying to deliver a loyalty that says, I'm not always looking at the price. I'm looking at where I want to be. And if they can fall in that realm, then that's where I'm going to go every single time, whether it's $1 more, whether it's $2 more. And when we talk about that, you've got things like Publix, supermarkets that absolutely do not have the best price, but I shop there all the time. You have places like Apple, and their brand loyalty is probably second to none. People go to Apple, whether it's the cheapest or most. It has nothing to do with it. This is an Apple product. I know what to expect when I get there. This is what I want. And then, okay, well, I guess I have to deal with the pricing afterwards. So when you talk about deliver loyalty like that, can you talk to me a little bit about how we can get that in the RTO world and say, okay, if my guys have that brand, that's where I'm going to go to get it.
Right. Well, first and foremost, if you don't deliver a great experience, you really don't have a prayer at loyalty or retention. So that's really the first thing you got to fix. The other is how you market to your existing customers. And this is where so many businesses fall down. And it's also expensive. So, I work with companies and I'll ask them, okay, do you have a marketing budget? And most of them will say yes. So, okay, great. How much of that is dedicated to customer retention? And they all look at me like I got three heads. They're like, what do you mean? And so then I got to go through the math. I said, do you know how much it costs you to acquire a customer? Most businesses don't know that very vital number. They might know cost of goods or, price per gallon of gas and stuff like that, but they don't know how much it costs to get a new customer in the front door. And so for my home service businesses, it's $136 for me to get a new customer in the front door. That's the pay-per-click ad. That's the guy answering the phone, etc. $136. Only costs me $23 a year to keep a customer. $23. So every time I service an existing customer, I'm $100 more profitable. And so the thing that you have to do is not always be selling. I know it's counterintuitive, but would you go to a business that the only time you ever heard from them is when they wanted your money? Right?
Yes.
The only time you hear from them is when they're having a sale. And that's not a relationship. Okay. That's transactional. So one of the things I recommend, especially, in this world, because you have their address, is mail them something. And mail them something that is not overtly salesy. I mean, this market is ripe for newsletters. I mean, you mentioned a newsletter at the beginning of the show. Well, the rental centers can do newsletters, preferably in print, and you mail them. You can mail a newsletter for under $1, full color, 4 pages. And the newsletter is designed to entertain and stay in touch and continue the emotional connection that they created in your store. So it's not going to have, your box springs that have, 12 springs versus 9 springs or better or whatever. Nobody cares about that crap, right? One of the most sought after sections of my newsletter is the stupid criminal stories. It's like Reader's Digest Light. I kid you not. I've been doing a newsletter now for over 14 years. And after about 3 years, I was like, I'm bored with the stupid criminal story. So I took it out and I put a recipe in there. We got phone calls saying, where's the stupid criminal stories? People were mad. They told me a couple of things. One, people are actually reading the newsletter, right? And two, well, now I know what they like. So I guess I'll put the stupid criminal stories back in. And the key thing is that there's nothing salesy in there. The only sale item in there is, hey, if you got a friend or neighbor that could use us, have them give us a call, something simple like that. But everything in there is designed to continue the relationship, to continue the emotional connection that we created at the beginning.
How hard is that, in your opinion?
It's not hard. It's not hard. You just got to get into it. Now, I mean, there are companies out there that, like we have a done for you newsletter. So I actually have a whole done for you retention system. It's called my retention system in a box. So you do the newsletter. Then you're thinking, okay, well, I can't just not sell them something. Okay, fine. So then you send them a postcard. Once a month, you send a postcard out, and that's got your offer on it. And then you send a weekly email. And the weekly email is just an article from the newsletter, your promotion from your postcard, and you put the two together. So now you're hitting your customers 6 times a month. That's not, and you're not bombarding them with a daily email or, 10% off this all the time. You're delivering information, you're delivering entertainment. And by the way, yeah, we've got a promotion going this month. So it's a very holistic look at customer retention. And there's nothing in there that's just screaming, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. It's, here's, 7 ways to create a healthier home this spring, or things like that.
So it's 7 keys to profitability service recovery is what I saw. Is that what you're talking about? That part there?
Yeah.
So these things that happen, because I love the idea of taking things that aren't expensive and turning them to something that has value, because value is the most important thing. And as you're coming across this, somebody comes in, right? So I'm the 1 to 3 store operator. I come in, I'm making sure that, I'm walking my store, all my clicks work. I'm making sure that everything's good. And every so often I have Bob or Jane or whoever come through and make sure that we're actually talking to the customer the right way and all that. When you're looking at other ideas, right? Because sometimes what we do, and I am guilty of this myself, is that I'm used to being at the front counter. I'm used to dealing with my guys, and I'm used to the situation. So even if I have an idea in my head, this is what the store should look like. This is how we should react to the customers. And this is what I think the SOP should be. I walk in and everything's checked and it's good. But sometimes what we do is we fall back on that and we say, this is my SOP. I come in and it's good. But now it's dated, right? It's a year. It's 2 years. And we're still going through that checklist. Because remember, we got some people that are just, hey, I created this and I'm going to use it till the paper clips come out. So it's like, okay, I'm doing this. To get those fresh ideas, right? To put ourselves out of the situation and go, I need to create something new. How would somebody do that? How does somebody go and say, okay, wait a minute, this is a little bit dated. I have to know that this has been the 3-year mark. This is dated. I know I've got to start doing something different. How do you get people who are checklist oriented to go, I need something different now because this is where the market's at?
Well, certainly. So one of the things I didn't mention about, creating those standards and creating those experiences is having a committee. I hate the word committee, having a working group, whatever you want to call it. But you get a couple of people together and you're going to look at one or two or three of the standards and you're going to say, how do we make this better?
Hey everyone, it's Pete Chow here from the RTO Show podcast, and I want to tell you about a company that's making a real difference in the rent-to-own space, Wow Brands. I've seen firsthand how they approach marketing. And let me tell you, it's not just about ads. Wow Brands builds complete digital ecosystems designed specifically for the rent-to-own industry. Their e-commerce and lead generation strategies are built to bring in qualified leads. And did I mention that they are actively working with the rent-to-own industry while also being members of APRO and TRIB? Listen, these folks are passionate problem solvers. They don't just slap something together, they design, build, and scale the kind of digital retail tools your business needs and your customers actually want. So if you're serious about growing, reach out to Wow Brands at wowbrands.com. I trust them, and I think you will too.
And it's just continuous process improvement. Just get together with two or three of your team in your store and say, okay, when customers walk in, we say, hey, welcome to ABC store. Okay, well, how can we make that a little bit better? And they'll say, okay, well, how about we just say, welcome to ABC store. My name is Jeff. Perfect. Now that's the new standard and we run with that. And then maybe in 2 or 3 months, we'll revisit it and say, okay, how do we make the entry into the store better than what we're doing? Well, how about we present them with a checklist? We just talk checklists. Okay, here's 7 ways to make sure you get the sofa you're looking for, right? And I didn't know there were 7 questions I should ask about sofas. What are they? So now you've improved it, and you just continually do that. The other thing is take your team out every once in a while. I mean, go to Chick-fil-A, go to the mall and walk 7 or 8 stores and just tell them, hey, what do you see? Is there something you liked, something you didn't like? And then the didn't like stuff is, okay, well, we're never doing that in our store. And the stuff you did like, okay, well, how do we adapt it?
How far out of the realm do you go? If I'm selling furniture, right? Because there's several different types of rent to own. There is the traditional where it's it's furniture, appliances, electronics. You've got the tire and wheel now where it's just tire or wheels or a combination of both. You've got the shed industry. You've got some other things that are going on. When you're trying to look for those things, how far out of your industry do you go? I know you mentioned Nordstrom, but like it's like, could I show up on a car dealer lot and go, this is, let's find out how it goes? Or how far out of the realm of your set box do you go?
As far as it takes, I don't consciously look for, okay, well, today I'm going to, Burger King, and I'm going to see how do I take the Burger King standards and apply them to my mold remediation business. That doesn't enter my mind, to do it like that. It's just walking around town, going to different places. And it just doesn't matter. It's like, you just have to be of the mindset of how do you adapt what this company is doing into the rental center? And that's the question. You see something you like, you sit down at dinner. Here's an easy one. It's called anticipatory service. Okay. And it goes like this, and anybody can do this. Okay. It works in any industry. So let's say it's a really hot day out. You go into a restaurant, you sit down, you ask for a glass of water, and they say no. Now we would all agree that's bad service.
Oh, that's
right?
terrible. Right.
Yeah. Okay. So same hot day, you go into the restaurant, you ask for a glass of water, and they deliver it. Right. That's average service, right? We asked for something, they delivered it. No bells and whistles, no nothing. Fine. Get it. Okay. That's okay. And, nobody raves about average, right? So if we're talking about word of mouth advertising, that kind of service is not going to get anybody talking about us. But let's say it's the same hot day. We walk in, and there at the host stand is one of the servers standing there with a tray with both still and sparkling water on it saying, hey, we know it's really hot outside. Would you like a glass of water? That's anticipatory service. So, these things can be done. I've got attorneys making lattes and coffee drinks for their clients because that was the experience they wanted in their law office. So instead of just saying, hey, can I get you a cup of coffee? They now present a menu and says, okay, which one of these, coffee drinks, what's your favorite coffee drink? Would you like one of these? Oh, yeah, I like that one, the espresso with the 2 pumps of this and the extra shot of potato juice and whatever else goes into the thing. It's just taking that. I got an oil change company, right? They installed a barista in the waiting room of the oil change company. And they did a whole bunch of other things, but that oil change, those guys are charging 45% more than their closest competitor because of the service that they're providing. It's the same oil. There's no magic oil, right? Just they all buy it from the same place. But because there is a service process, and then of course we have the whole experience of in the waiting room, you know, they're charging more. So if you walked into a rental center and, how are you guys dressed? Are they dressed in just a polo shirt and khakis? Okay, fine. That's average. Fine. Great.
You're labeling us, Vance. That's exactly the way we are. That's exactly the way we look. We're a polos right there.
Polos and khakis. I get it. But do you look at your uniform? Okay. If you want to get a higher price, well, you've got to elevate how you look and how you deliver. So instead of polo shirts, is it Oxford shirts? Right? So they, Oxford, you can press them and they look nice. Okay, maybe it's not khakis, maybe it's, navy blue or black trousers, whatever. They got a nice seam down on them, crease. If we're providing uniforms, right? If we got to pay for the uniforms, we just pay for something a little nicer looking, right? I mean, that's what the oil change guy did. Oil change guy, I mean, they were, they wore their oil change out, whatever the hell coveralls or whatever. Now the guys come out there, same uniform company, and those guys are wearing white shirts and black bow ties and little gloves when they come out and greet the customers at the garage door. So
I love it.
It's just looking at different things in a different way. And, I mean, how do you set your place? How does it look?
Well, there's a couple, I tell you what, Vance, this is amazing. Going into the end, just so you guys know, Vance has worked with some crazy names here that I just got to tell you, things that really have helped. Number one, Dan Kennedy, who is a author of over 20 plus books. We've got Jack Canfield, who actually literally wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. Amazing book. If you haven't read it, you need to go out and read it. Lee Cockrell, he's done 4 books, but he's probably integral in what he does. And the Shark Tank himself, Mr. Damon John, you work with all these guys. These guys, I would imagine it goes back and forth. They tell you something, you tell them something. That's got to be a good, coming into the end, that's got to be a good feedback, right? I mean, that's got to be a good loop for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And we compare notes, I would like to say frequently, but when we do meet up, I mean, we're getting together and we're like, okay, what strategy or tactic is working now? What new product have you seen? What could be adapted into what we're doing? So yeah, I mean, you don't have to be connected to a shark to do this stuff, right? You just need to think a little bit.
I tell you what, if they're taking his advice, I would too. I know you also do a service. You have a deliver service now. That's someplace that they can go.com. They can go on there and kind of take a look at some of the services that you have and some of the ideas that you do. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I love the idea of the anticipation of needing that service and being able there to take care of that. That's something that we definitely don't do. We can get better at. Dress the part and make sure we do our best to decouple them from whatever mindset that they have as far as our pricing. I love that idea. Vance, it's been a joy having you on. There's so many things that we could talk about. We might have to set this up again because I just love the ideas. But if somebody wanted to reach out to you, they wanted your services besides deliver service now, is there any other way that they would reach out to you, or what would they get out of it if they're looking for you?
I mean, I'll drop a gift for everybody because, I want to make sure everybody feels, if you're missing some creative juices. So I came up with something called 52 Ways to Wow Your Customer Without Breaking the Bank. So it's 52 low or no cost ways that you can implement right away. And it's one wow for every week of the year. So I got you covered until 2027. And you can find that at wow52ways.com.
Guys, go to wow52ways.com. Make sure you look up Vance Morris. You won't be disappointed, I promise. Vance, great to have you on the show. I'm going to tell you guys, make sure that you get to the newsletter. Make sure you go onto the website. But remember that we're everywhere you want to be. So it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, where you're going to see this. Vance, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate all your wisdoms, all your knowledge, everything that you have. I'm going to be looking a little bit more into that website. And I'm going to tell you guys, as always, thank you for coming up. Get your collections low to get your sales high. Have a great one.